Before we begin, a quick note. The opinions and analysis shared on Truth Seekers are our own interpretations of published research and should not be used as medical, financial, or professional advice. Always consult qualified professionals for decisions affecting your health or well-being.
And with that out of the way, welcome to Truth Seekers. I'm Bill Morrison.
And I'm Alex Barrett. Today is January 2nd, 2026, and we're talking about nature's Ozempic, the Berberine weight loss myth.
Let's get to the truth.
Right. So, TikTok has decided that Berberine, this supplement you can buy at any chemist, is basically the same thing as Ozempic, the prescription diabetes drug that everyone's been using for weight loss. Nature's Ozempic, they're calling it.
Yeah, I've seen so many of these videos. People saying they're getting the same results as Ozempic for like $20 instead of $1,000 a month.
Which sounds brilliant, doesn't it? Ozempic's been impossible to get because of shortages. It's wildly expensive if insurance doesn't cover it. And here's this natural alternative just sitting on the shelf.
I mean, if you told me I could get the same weight loss results for a fraction of the cost, I'd be interested too.
Of course.
But the military's Office of Dietary Supplement Programs, they actually looked at all the research on this, and what they found was pretty wild.
Hang on, the military's looking into supplements?
Yeah, they track this stuff because service members use supplements all the time. They want to know what actually works and what's nonsense. So they did this big analysis where they looked at all the berberine studies together, the good ones and the bad ones, and found a weight loss of about 0.84 kilograms.
That's like, what, under £2?
Right, not huge, but something. But then, and this is the interesting part, when they excluded the low quality studies, that weight loss effect completely disappeared.
Wait, what do you mean disappeared?
I mean, statistically, it no longer existed. One meta analysis found negative 0.11 kilograms with a confidence interval that crossed zero. Essentially, the effect is indistinguishable from nothing.
So you're saying when they only looked at well-designed studies, the effect vanished entirely?
Yep.
Huh. That's quite different from what TikTok's saying. But what about all those studies people keep citing? I've seen the headlines about berberine being as effective as metformin for diabetes.
Okay, so that part is actually real. The 2008 study by, what was it, Guo and colleagues?
Yeah, I think so.
That DID show berberine was comparable to metformin for blood sugar control in people with type 2 diabetes. That part is true.
But
But that study wasn't about weight loss, it was about diabetes management. They were measuring things like hemoglobin A1C and fasting blood glucose. Weight loss wasn't even the primary outcome.
so everyone's taking a diabetes study and just assuming it means weight loss.
Yeah, pretty much. And worse than that, actually, let me back up. Every single berberine study was done on people with metabolic disease, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, metabolic syndrome, not healthy people who just want to lose a few kilos.
That's a massive distinction, though. You can't just take results from sick populations and assume they apply to everyone else.
Exactly. And here's where the Ozempic comparison completely falls apart. The STEP 5 trial, one of the big semaglutide studies, showed an average of 15% body weight loss over 2 years.
15%. So for someone who weighs 90 kilos, that's
About 13 and a half kilos. Compare that to berberine's 0.11 kilograms when you look at quality studies. We're talking about 100-fold difference, maybe more.
okay, but hold on. You said some of the studies, the ones that weren't great quality, did show almost a kilogram of weight loss. And I know that's not 15% of body weight, but it's not nothing either. Couldn't you argue that even a small effect matters for some people?
I mean, maybe, but the problem is that effect only shows up in poorly designed studies. When you tighten the methodology, it disappears.
Right, but
And we're talking about studies with like 36 to 49 participants each. Those are tiny samples.
I get that, but I'm just thinking, when I was covering health stories as a journalist, there were times when small effects were actually meaningful to people, even if they weren't dramatic. Like, a kilogram might not sound like much to you, but
No, I hear what you're saying, but this isn't even a real kilogram. That's my point. It's an artifact of bad methodology.
how do you know that for certain, though?
Because better studies show zero effect. When you control for confounding factors, when you have proper blinding, when you exclude studies that are just methodologically messy, it goes away. That pattern tells you the effect was never really there to begin with.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I suppose if it were real, it wouldn't disappear when you improve the methods.
Right. Could be publication bias. Negative studies don't get published. Could be confounding factors. People with diabetes making lifestyle changes that cause weight loss, and berberine gets the credit. Could be regression to the mean.
What's that?
It's when extreme measurements tend to move back toward average over time, just naturally. If you measure people at their worst and then measure again later, they'll often look better just by chance.
So, Berberine might be getting credit for something that would have happened anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm convinced. But what about how berberine actually works in the body? Because if it does something for blood sugar, does it at least get absorbed properly?
Oh, that's another whole problem. Berberine has what researchers call very low absorption. The NIH actually ran a clinical trial just to figure out how much of this stuff gets into your bloodstream after you take it.
And
Not much. Most of it doesn't get absorbed. And the supplements you buy at the store don't use the specialized formulations that might improve absorption. Those require specific ingredients that aren't in typical commercial products.
so people might be taking something that's barely even getting into their system.
Right. And there's huge variability in what's actually in these supplements. One study tested commercial berberine products and found 40 to 50% variation in potency.
Meaning what's on the label might not be what's in the bottle.
Exactly. Because the FDA doesn't pre approve supplements like they do drugs.
Hmm. This reminds me so much of when I was working in journalism, watching how stories about health research would get twisted. You'd have a small study in a specific population, and by the time it became a headline, it was suddenly advice for everyone.
Yeah, and the population mismatch here is really critical. We're talking about studies with 36 to 49 participants each, mostly in Asian populations with existing metabolic disease. And the duration was usually only 12 to 18 weeks.
Those are tiny samples and not enough time to assess real sustained weight loss.
Way too small to generalize.
Okay, but let's be fair here. Is there anything berberine actually does? Or is this all just complete nonsense?
No, that's a good question. Berberine does seem to help with blood sugar control in people with diabetes. Multiple studies have shown that. And there's decent evidence it can improve cholesterol and triglyceride levels.
So it has legitimate uses.
For specific medical conditions, yeah, it's been used in traditional Chinese medicine for a long time, and some of that traditional use has evidence backing it up.
Right.
But that's for disease management, not weight loss in healthy people.
Hang on, this is reminding me of something. Didn't we do an episode about this exact pattern, where a supplement works for people who have a specific deficiency or condition, but then it gets marketed to everyone?
Oh, the magnesium thing?
Yes, the Sleepy Girl mocktail or whatever it was called. Magnesium only helped people who were actually deficient in it, but TikTok was telling everyone to take it.
Right. And here it's the same thing. Berberine might do something for people with metabolic disease, but that doesn't mean it's going to help someone who's metabolically healthy and just wants to lose weight.
It's the same con, just a different supplement.
Pretty much.
Anyway, what about side effects? Because Ozempic has some pretty well documented ones.
Berberine has issues too. The 2008 study found that, what was it, 34% of people?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, 34.5% of people experienced gastrointestinal side effects: diarrhea, flatulence, constipation.
So, 1 in 3 people taking it are going to have digestive problems.
At least. And here's something that really bothers me. Berberine inhibits liver enzymes called cytochrome P450 enzymes. These are what break down a lot of medications.
Which means it could interact with other drugs people are taking.
Exactly. If you're on metformin, blood pressure medications, birth control, a bunch of other common drugs, berberine could change how much of those medications stay in your body. This was documented in the European Journal of Clinical Pharmacology.
So, natural definitely doesn't mean safe here.
Not at all. And we don't have good data on long term safety because there haven't been any large long term trials.
This is what frustrates me about supplement marketing. They take a kernel of truth, berberine helps with blood sugar, and blow it up into this massive claim that it's equivalent to a prescription drug that went through years of trials with thousands of people.
Yeah, and when I was doing A B testing in tech, if we saw an effect that only showed up in poorly controlled tests and disappeared when we tightened things up, we knew it was noise. We wouldn't ship a product based on that.
But the supplement industry can.
They absolutely can. The quality collapse in the research really tells you everything. When the effect only shows up in poorly designed studies and disappears when you look at better studies, that's a red flag.
It suggests the effect was never really there to begin with.
Right,
It was just an artifact of bad methodology.
exactly.
So, what should people actually take away from this? Because I imagine there are listeners right now who've bought berberine or were thinking about it.
If you have diabetes or high cholesterol and you're working with your doctor, berberine might be worth discussing as part of your treatment plan. There is some real evidence for those uses.
But for weight loss in healthy people,
There's almost no evidence for that, and certainly nothing remotely close to Ozempic's effects. If weight loss is your goal, berberine isn't going to get you there based on what the research actually shows.
and if you are taking it, you need to tell your doctor because of those drug interactions.
Absolutely. Don't assume your doctor knows you're taking supplements.
This feels like a perfect example of how the supplement industry operates. They're not subject to the same rules as pharmaceutical companies, so they can make these huge claims based on really shaky evidence. And by the time anyone notices, they've already made their money.
And social media amplifies it. TikTok makes it go viral, people see their friends talking about it, and suddenly it feels like everyone knows this works.
But what everyone knows isn't based on what the research actually shows.
It's based on marketing dressed up as science.
Right. And look, I get the appeal. Ozempic is expensive and hard to get. People want an alternative.
Sure.
But wanting something to work doesn't make it work.
No. And the real tragedy is that people are spending money on something that probably isn't helping them, and in some cases might be causing drug interactions they don't know about.
The bottom line is this: berberine is not nature's Ozempic. Ozempic causes, what did you say, 15% body weight loss?
Yeah, in large, well designed trials.
And berberine causes essentially zero weight loss when you look at the best evidence.
That's not a small difference. That's not even the same ballpark.
If something sounds too good to be true, cheap, natural, effective as a prescription drug, it probably is too good to be true.
And in this case, We have the research to prove it.
Check the evidence, talk to your doctor, and maybe be a bit skeptical when TikTok tells you they found a miracle supplement.
Because usually they haven't.
Right, that's all for today's dive into the data. Just remember, everything we've discussed is our interpretation of published research and shouldn't replace professional medical advice.
Absolutely. If you're dealing with health or mental concerns, talk to your doctor, not just us data nerds on a podcast.
I'm Alex Barrett,
And I'm Bill Morrison
and we'll see you next time.
on Truth Seekers.
Until then, question everything.
But verify with data.